Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown Show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMAOddsbreaker. We are here for UFC 275 where we have 3 title fights on the line. Wow. Should be a phenomenal fight card. Looking forward to 2 title fights on the line. It almost feels like the JJ Weili Zhang fight could be a title fight, but there is a Carla Esparza out there holding the belt, right? 11 fights. 7 of these fights are expected to end inside the distance. We are headed to Singapore, across the pond, Asia. 4 out of 11 fights here are women's mixed martial arts fights. And let's start from the top of the card where we have Jocelyn Edwards taking on Ramona Pascual. Pascual, originally this fight was booked at bantamweight, and now you see that both of these fighters showed up at 145 pounds. Interesting. Pascual, who traditionally fights up at 145 pounds, even higher than that. She's getting up there in age, in her mid-30s, is a grappler by trade. Jocelyn Edwards, her kryptonite has been grappling. You saw what Jessica Rose Clark did to her last time out. Grounded her, put her in some really tough spots, and Edwards did not have the answer. Edwards looked shredded at 145 pounds on the scale, is the much more proficient striker. Josiana Nunez took on Ramona Pascual last time out, and Pascual was a virtually looked like a punching bag the entire fight. Tough as nails, though. I'll be picking Jocelyn Edwards in this spot. I think that she has more firepower here, and hopefully she shored up some of her takedown defense or get-up game, which she virtually had none. The thing about the larger octagon here, it's one of those things about getting taken down is you have more room out there, less ability to use the fence to work your way back up to your feet. So if you're caught in the middle of the octagon, you're stranded out there and you don't have a get-up game, could pose some big problems. But give me Jocelyn Edwards. I think her firepower on the feet is going to be just a little bit too much. Let's see. Yes. A bummer this card lost Whitaker and Vittori and also Manel Cap against Bontarine. Oh, my goodness gracious. Second fight of the night where we have Silvana Gomez Juarez taking on Liang Na. Liang Na coming in as a plus 125 underdog here. Both of these fighters, this is another low-level mixed martial arts bout. And you look up and down this card. The first few fights on the card are high volatility. You look at Silvana Gomez Juarez, late 30s, has some pop on her punches, has her kryptonite is the ground game. She has been submitted multiple times. And you look at Liang Na here, she fights like she's running out of a house on fire. That's really how she fights. She is coming out, throwing the kitchen sink. Impressive against Carnelossi, was able to take her down seemingly at will, but only had about 5 minutes of gas. I wonder if we'll see a little bit more composure out of Liang Na here. I'll be picking Liang Na to win. I think that she showed glimpses of being a proficient fighter when she came out hot. Can she maintain this pace? The odds say no, as far as fight doesn't go the distance, hovering around minus 325. How often do you see that in a women's mixed martial arts fight? Not very often. I think that Liang Na is live for a submission here, and she's also live to get knocked out. Let's be real. Give me Liang Na, though. I think that she is the better fighter at this stage in her respective career, and she's still only 25 years of age. So interesting spot there. Third fight of the night, where we have Mr. Perfect, Kyung-Ho Kang, coming in and taking on Dana Bakhdari. Bakhdari coming in here as a minus 25 betting favorite. Interesting spot. He fought Gutierrez back in March and was winning the fight until Bakhdari ended up getting caught and put out. Bakhdari is a heavy puncher, but he's not very dynamic. Doesn't have a lot of versatility to his game. Not a very diverse striker. Wants to keep this fight on the feet. Kyung-Ho Kang has shown many wrinkles to his game. In this spot, it's interesting. I'm leaning towards the underdog. I've seen him dig a little bit deeper. I've seen him against Ricardo Ramos and other fighters show that he can crack, and also he's got some versatility. Now, the thing about Kang is he's getting up there in age, 34 years of age, and the Yaya fight wasn't very impressive. I'll be picking Kang, though. I just Bakhdari, I don't feel as if he has a path here that's going to be sustainable for 15 minutes. I think Kang may win this fight via decision. I think that's the most likely outcome in this spot. Next up, wow, we have somebody who has dropped the ball, and that would be Mr. Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen is coming in as a minus 285 favorite. Talk about securing the bag. He's fumbled the bag in the past, and even against Tom Breeze, there have been others where you just don't feel comfortable backing Brendan Allen, especially as a minus 285, minus 300 betting favorite. Taking on Jacob Malkoun, who you wonder, how did he get here? Other than knowing Robert Whitaker, you come in with I believe 6-1 overall record in mixed martial arts. And how is he here? He's won a fight against AJ Dobson, right? But he seems to be a plodding grappler who has great cardio and can grind. So not a very fan-friendly style, so to speak. Of course, us on the other side of the window, when we're trying to make some coin here, you want to be able to bet on fighters who can win, and Malkoun has that style where he's going to grind you out, and he's going to have cardio, and he can go the distance. And a lot of folks don't like that style, but hey, at the end of the day, you want to cash tickets. Now, in this spot against Brendan Allen has a jiu-jitsu black belt. Doesn't have necessarily great takedowns, but he can find himself in dominant positions and then scramble. He's a physical specimen, still in his early 20s. Both of these guys are, I believe, the same age, around 26 years of age. Allen, more proficient on the feet, seems to have solid cardio, has gone 5 rounds before, coming off of a victory where, let's face it, against Sam Alvey, there were some sweaty spots in that fight. So I'm not going to be touching this fight from a betting perspective. I see Malkoun here, especially with Allen traveling overseas. How can he muff this one? I'm concerned about that. Malkoun, though, is outmatched from a strength perspective and also from a technical perspective, both on the ground and on the feet. I'll be picking Brendan Allen, but not much conviction in that spot. Let's see. Good morning. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown Show. Let's see. All right, with this card, always will be Valentina by murder. Yep. Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. Santos is a physical specimen. I never want to fade Valentina Shevchenko, and I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be doing that in this spot. But I also, I'm not going to be going out of my way to play a minus 600 favorite. Welcome. Let's get back to business here, where we have Steve Garcia taking on Maheshate. Maheshate coming in as a plus 155 betting underdog. And you watch his contender series fight. This is somebody who was I believe, plus 750-ish underdog. Massive underdog came through in that spot, taking on a Steve Garcia who has fought better competition. Maheshate is only 22 years of age, Chinese fighter. Garcia seems to be the better grappler, seems to be the stronger fighter. As far as gas tank goes, I want to see more out of Maheshate. He got clipped early in the first round of his contender series bout and came back and was the fresher fighter down the stretch. So I wonder if the gas tank will come into play here. Garcia, this is one of those spots where show me something. Garcia, I don't particularly want to invest in him as a minus 185 to minus 200 betting favorite, but I do agree that he should be favored here in this spot. He has knockout power, seems to be competent on the feet. The Luis Pena fight is a little disturbing, though. Outmatched and had really no answer in that fight. And Pena, his inability to lock up a submission has cost him in numerous spots. I mean, now he's had some difficulty outside of the octagon, but I'm leaning towards Steve Garcia, not going to be playing him. I think there are better spots on this card. Next up, where we have a banger. This is one of those fights that could potentially be fight of the night, where we have Choi-Culibao coming in as a plus 185 underdog, taking on Seung-Woo Choi. Seung-Woo Choi is sitting at minus 225 at some books, can be had a little bit higher at minus 240, minus 245 at other books, at BetDSI minus 225. Now, what's interesting here is Choi, massive for the division, heavy hitter. This was the most fierce stare down of the entire weigh-ins. And Culibao, although he hasn't necessarily showed me much inside of the octagon, what I've seen not only on the regional tape but also against Jourdain, he can crack and he does not give up on himself. If he's in a fight, he's going to be throwing hammers the whole way, and he's got decent cardio. To end up in a draw against Charles Jourdain showed me something in that spot. And Choi, you look at the loss to Caceres, right? He got caught in a submission in that spot, but he was dominating that fight, and he comes dialed in. And I suspect he'll be dialed in, ready to crack here. I'll be picking Choi in this spot. But I'll say that Culibao is not going to go silently into the night. I believe that this is going to be a firefight. And it would not surprise me to see this fight end inside the distance. Take a look at that inside the distance line. Fight doesn't go the distance, currently hovering around minus 110. So playable. Give me Seung-Woo Choi. I think that his length is going to pose problems. He's got a reach advantage, has a significant size advantage, and he's just got to mind his defense. He really goes for it. I mean, man, the Julian Erosa fight, they were cracking early, and we've seen Choi's been defensively sound on the feet in the past, but if Culibao can time a counter strike, that would be something, potentially fight ending. Give me Choi, though. I think Choi is the rightful favorite in this spot. Let's see. We've got that's why I said KO or sub only, Mike. No way you pick her straight up at -600. All right, we're talking about the Shevchenko fight over here. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Spot on with Culibao. Odds are heavy in my humble opinion. Yep. All right. Next up, where we have Jack Della Maddalena coming in as a -160 betting favorite. Clean striker. Last time out against Pete Rodriguez, it seemed like his striking accuracy was through the roof. You watched his Contender Series bout. Very, very exciting fighter. And it's interesting, the UFC matchmaking here. They put Maddalena up against Ramazan-Emeev, who's traditionally a blanket. He will smother opponents on the mat and just hold them there. Not many finishes in the UFC. Emeev is going to come out here, look to ground Maddalena and stifle his offense and then drain him. And Maddalena, it's interesting, still only 25 years of age. You look at his facial structure, the man has he's taken some shots inside of the gym, but that has built who he is, and he is a beautiful striker. It's really a pleasure to watch him box on the feet. I hope we get to see him for an extended period of time trading on the feet. But if you're on the Emeev side, you want to see Maddalena on his back, trying to work his way back up to his feet and getting stuffed. So I'll be picking Maddalena, though. I think that his footwork could be a key factor here. He has to use his footwork to try to stay away from Emeev and avoid getting clinched up with a Dagestani fighter who is he's a real problem when he's on top of you. And Maddalena hasn't shown that he's been able to get up to the feet when he's been taken down. So give me Maddalena in this spot. Next up, interesting bout. This almost feels like the people's main event here, where we have Jake Matthews coming as a +110 underdog, taking on Andre Fialho. Fialho, very active fighter lately, confidence through the roof. The Miguel Baeza fight, then he came in and he got cracked initially in his most recent bout and then ended up finishing the job. But Fialho, no stranger to putting in work behind the scenes in the gym and coming out and looking to end the fight via knockout. Jake Matthews, it's incredible. You watch his UFC career, and this is a guy who debuted back in 2014, and he's still only 27 years of age. I remember when he fought Johnny Case back in the day. I think it was like 2016 or so. And I was very, very impressed because I was high on Johnny Case at the time. And Jake Matthews showed me that he is a well-rounded fighter. And he's able to put a game plan together, stick to it. Isn't much of a finisher, at least on the feet. And he has a ground game. Could potentially ground Fialho here. And in the larger octagon, Fialho is he's a hammer. I'll say that. He's a dangerous fighter. And Matthews, something about him, though, he's recovered from a number of injuries. And there have been certain situations in fights where I just haven't been thrilled with the decision-making process that he's chosen. I think the Rocco Martin fight, that was one that he was winning. And then all of a sudden, boom, the tables turned like that. Unfortunately, I see that happening here. I think that Fialho is going to get off on a handful of strikes and catch Matthews. It's tough to bank on an outcome like that, but Matthews hasn't had much time to prepare for Fialho, who is he's a pretty decent striker himself, and he has no problems getting into a firefight. He could potentially get knocked out in certain circumstances, but I don't see Matthews being the guy to KO Fialho. If he wins this fight, I see it being via submission, Matthews, but I'll be picking Andre Fialho. I think that he's got the confidence and the tools on the feet to cause Matthews some problems especially early in this fight when there's a feeling out process. Matthews should probably try to get in on a takedown early and ground Fialho, and then work from there, try to drain Fialho's gas tank. But I think that Matthews is going to get caught here. So give me Fialho in that spot. I know a lot of people are on Matthews, and I understand where you're coming from, but I just have a an inkling that we're going to see Fialho dialed in on the feet again, and the confidence is through the roof. Matthews doesn't compete very often, and he doesn't fight out of a great camp, but he's an amazing athlete. As far as athletic specimens go, Jake Matthews is a athletic specimen. Next up, where we have an interesting bout, a rematch. Weili Zhang taking on Joanna, former champion. Both of these fighters are in their mid-30s. JJ going to be 35 in a couple of months, and I believe Weili Zhang is 32. Going to be 30, or JJ's going to be 30. Let's see, 35. Yep. And Weili Zhang will be 33 soon. You watched the first fight. A few takeaways. Number one, that fight was 5 rounds, right? Number two, some folks will pull out stats and say that JJ was way ahead on the striking numbers wise, and also defensively seemed more sound, more responsible to a certain extent. But then you look at the discrepancy in power. You can't quantify that with stats, the power that was delivered. There's been a narrative for a long time, actually since the night of the first bout, that the hematoma on JJ's forehead was the reasoning for the judges awarding the fight to Weili Zhang. I rewatched that fight numerous times. I mean, we've had so much time to absorb that. One of the best fights of all time. I mean, we were watching that in real time. It was so impressive. Both fighters, their willingness to dig deep, the ebb and flow of the fight. Weili Zhang going to be fighting in Asia. I think that needs to be mentioned here. Another thing we need to mention, that that last fight took place over 2 years ago. So it's not like we're going to just hop right in there and things are going to be exactly the same. If this was a fight that took place 6 months ago or a year ago, then maybe. But we're talking about 2.5 years. And JJ, she had a recipe for winning. She's somebody who is elite, somebody who I don't think we're going to see any evolution in her game. Maybe we'll see a more kick-heavy game, because that's where she had a lot of sustained success. Also, that clash of heads early in the fight in the second round, that rang Weili Zhang's bell. You watch, she ate a kick to the jaw and then stumbled to her corner. And actually, the corner had to literally carry her back. And then we saw a dramatic recovery between the second and third round. And you know what happened? Then Weili Zhang all of a sudden came out refreshed and ready to go. So there should be no feeling out process whatsoever in this bout, considering it's scheduled for only 15 minutes. And I think that Joanna is going to try to stay evasive in the larger octagon, try to be surgical, as she's mentioned in previous interviews, surgical in her approach, and she may have some success right off the bat. But Weili Zhang, you look at what she's done recently. Despite suffering 2 losses, she got finished by Rose, and then the second fight we saw a very improved effort. In fact, many awarded Weili Zhang that victory, but what it comes down to are those 3 judges, and it wasn't enough to get the victory in that spot. So Zhang went to fight ready, spent some time improving her takedowns and wrestling. Also now did this entire camp out of her comfort zone at a at a place in Thailand where I remember she didn't go to Tiger Muay Thai. She went to an isolated camp with her team. Interesting decision here. Bottom line, I think that the power is going to be the difference maker on display here. You have JJ. She doesn't look great on the scales ever. Again, 34 years of age, did not look good on the scales there. I understand why folks are taking the shot on the dog here. And the odds, I was looking around this morning, Zhang is down to minus 145-ish. So odds are even closing as we speak. I'll be picking Weili Zhang. I think that this probably will end up coming down to a decision. And I think being overseas in Asia, I think Weili Zhang being the more active fighter, getting away from her comfort zone, being forced to go back to the drawing board, so to speak. I think that's going to be a big factor in this spot. And I'll be picking Weili Zhang to win. I understand, though, Joanna could have won that fight. She, in some eyes, did enough to win rounds and walk away with the victory in the first fight. And last time out, got in on Weili Zhang early and hit that at, I believe, minus 140. So right now, minus 145. Interesting spot. So I'll be picking Weili Zhang. I think the power is going to be just too much. And the defensive tendencies on the feet of Joanna, former champion, I know that maybe statistically she was defending at a better rate, but the power strikes that she was absorbing, you cannot tell me that there was no discrepancy in power. There was a real difference in the punching power. You saw Joanna's head kick back like a Pez dispenser at times. So give me Weili Zhang in this spot. Next up, where we have Teixeira-Santos, who's another challenger, taking on Valentina Shevchenko, coming in as a minus 590 betting favorite. Now, the question for me is this fight going to go the distance? You look at right now, fight goes the distance minus 115. So you're looking around, probably getting a plus number here on ending inside the distance. Teixeira-Santos is a dangerous fighter. The problem is, though, she fights to the level of her competition. So, hey, she's fighting the best ever. And I do consider Valentina Shevchenko the best women's fighter of all time. I think that Santos should raise her game here and be able to compete for at least minutes. I'm not saying rounds, but for minutes. She's long. She's mean. She's got a killer instinct. The Barella fight, oh my God, that was a hard fight, a hard pill to swallow in that spot. Santos, she's very explosive, and she doesn't seem intimidated like other fighters have been in the past. Shevchenko, though, has that GSP aura about her. She fights. She's very economical in her approach, so she doesn't go out of her way to find a finish. She'll wait for her opponent to come to her and then pick her spots, just like we do when we go to the betting window. We want to pick our spots, right? And Valentina Shevchenko does that. And I think that's the key to victory here, is that she's going to end up having Teixeira-Santos make a mistake, and Shevchenko will capitalize on that and finish Santos here late. That's my prediction. I'm interested in hearing yours in the comments section. So give me Valentina Shevchenko, but I'm interested to see what approach Santos has. You can't sit back and try to drag. You can't take your time against Valentina Shevchenko. She'll get a beat on you quickly, just like other fighters we've seen. They are information gatherers, and then they will turn the tide on you. Like Jan is like that also. But Valentina Shevchenko, give me bullet for the victory. Main event of the evening. Wow, we're already here. Interesting. Oh, before we get to that, my bookie here has win by KO or sub plus 130. All right. Give that a shot. All right. Main event of the evening. Glover Teixeira coming in as a plus 165 betting underdog. The champion taking on Yuri Prochazka. Prochazka minus 205 at the betting window. Prochazka is a knockout artist. You know, that's who he is. He finds a way. And what's beautiful to watch about Prochazka is that he'll put himself on the precipice between victory and defeat. He will let himself hang out there in almost like in purgatory in order to get the kill shot in. And that's a dangerous fighter, somebody who's willing to risk a loss. You watched it in the Dominic Reyes fight, even in the Volkan Ozdemir fight. There have been fights where overseas, before he came to the UFC, he's on the edge of victory and defeat. You either sink or you swim, and somehow he's been able to land this kill shot. He is a very, very dangerous fighter. And Glover Teixeira, you know, he's amazing. I love watching him fight. I wish he would have used his ground game earlier in his UFC career. I happened to be at one of his fights against Jared Cannonier and got to watch him put his wrestling and, well, he didn't lock up a submission in that spot, but was able to dominate in the grappling department. And that's the key to victory here for Glover Teixeira, is that I know he's got great hands, but he's slowing down. He is a plodding light heavyweight fighter who does not move his head well and relies on surviving and almost like Paul Craig, in a sense that you think you got him hurt, you think him got him out, and then he turns the tide on you and has you on your back, and you're fighting for your life. And that could potentially happen here against he still looks very green. Let's be honest. Yuri looks very green out there to a certain degree, but he's so damn dangerous. And what amazes me about Prochazka is his ability to come out of nowhere with these strikes. Like that spinning elbow against Dominic Reyes, that was very creative. How creative was that? That was very impressive. And unfortunately, I see him knocking Glover Teixeira out. And Teixeira is tough as nails. I just don't think he's going to be able to take the power strikes that Prochazka is about to deliver here. And it's just a question of when is this fight going to end, because it could end Prochazka via knockout, and the other real possibility is Teixeira locking up a submission. I see this happening early. I like the unders in a lot of spots on this card. And you look at the fight doesn't go the distance prop here. I mean, this is starting to balloon out all the way out to minus 750. It's incredible. But if there's a fight that isn't going to go the distance, this is it. You have other fighters like the Thiago Santos, Johnny Walker fight. That one ended up going 5 rounds. The thing about Prochazka is he's not going to fight a disciplined game plan that is, he's reckless. That's what makes him great. And Thiago Santos and Johnny Walker, they were fighting as if they were pacing themselves for 5 rounds. And Prochazka doesn't do that. And Glover Teixeira is going to find a finish one way or the other if Prochazka ends up on his back. So give me Yuri Prochazka to win inside the distance. I understand why folks are picking Teixeira, and that is a spot where the number looks great, but I'll be picking Yuri Prochazka, and I think that he gets this done inside the distance. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. I know we're getting this out early. Fights start at 7 p.m. My record third-party tracked at betmma.tips. We are up over 111 units of profit since 2017. And You can find my plays over at MMAOddsbreaker Premium as well. Make sure that you're heeding the advice of folks who are long-term winners with a tracked record. That's a important part of this. Don't want to be wasting your time. Want to make sure you're aware that this is a results-oriented industry, and that if you are putting out betting content, you should have your track record readily handable or easily handable, handy out there, so that people can access your track record and they know what they're dealing with here. So good luck today. Get out there, go get what's yours. Let's do this.